one. Before we get into this evening's live, a lot to go over here. As we know, we had a pretty big drop off in the market. And the last thing we talked about yesterday, at least for anybody who's just watched the lives, because there's a rather large majority that do appreciate the lives over anything else. So about 40% of the people that watch the lives only watch the live. It's about 25% of the people only watch the updates. And I think it says, actually, it's a little bit higher, like 35, because then there's like 15% that only watch the shorts or something. Well, that is the difference, because it was 45, 20, or 40, 25, or 27, and 15. And then whatever the difference was, watched all three. So I think it's cool that we can push it around like that. But if the last thing you watched here yesterday was we talked about how even though there was a big drop, that more than likely we retest like that, maybe not all the way up to $2.40, but we should really come up and retest that area. I mean, we came up a little bit here, but is that enough? You know, I don't necessarily know if that was enough. We'll take a look at it in these charts. Kathy in the Telegram talked about, and I really like this, as a matter of fact. Looking at this, I don't know why I don't usually show this during the lives or anything, but I thought it was nice how she talked about this in the Telegram. And it's right here on the top, so I can just click on it. But I really should show this more, because it is cool when you watch this. And then you can see XRP, kind of the transfers going across, and every transfer in real time, or every trade that's been made. So it's cool to watch this in real time. But so I appreciate that, Kathy, for sharing that in the Telegram. But what we're looking at here is the one good thing about this is the fact that when it's XRP versus Bitcoin, it looks like we've bottomed towards Bitcoin. And we've been saying that with that weekly golden cross. And now with that back test, I mean, this is interesting. Like, are we getting a reversal here? Because we definitely have hit this back test here perfectly on the breakout of what looked like a descending wedge. This is also where, with the XRP Bitcoin pairing in the weekly time frame, we back tested a golden cross here on this candle right here. And now it's been a couple weeks, and now we back tested the breakout point as well. So that's a very, very good sign. This is a very, very good sign doing this. And that looks like a massive inverse head and shoulders how we have drawn out, and now it's just playing out. But it looks like a massive inverse head and shoulders here. So it's still like what we're thinking. Yes, when we were at spots, it's good to take profit, and I will continue to echo that point. But I still feel like this is a bear trap, and we haven't done our fifth wave yet. So, like, maybe it is just XRP when it bounces around, but it looks like the market is setting us up for something bigger. But that still remains the question of, is it possible for us to go down one more layer? Because if we do, that's where you get that dropped XRP to like $1.50, possibly if you lose $1.98. And I don't even want to say $1.50, but that's an area it lines up to back in here. And we've talked about that area before, how technically we never came back in there after a volatile swing out. And we never technically came back into this area. And I still argue that there's a gap in that area. So that's why in December I said, you know, it looks like we're starting to top here, not because the cycle's over, but because we have a gap down there that would be in our best interest to start filling. And we did fill out some at the $1.82 level, but I believe that there's a level here that needs to be filled. And if we were to come down, that's what we would most likely be doing. Not to break down this entire thing and for it to be gone, but there is an area down there that we've never actually said, hey, you know, we had a volatile breakout, and we never actually came back down there. So it's always been an area of concern that we'll have to take that level out before we get to where we want to go. But that doesn't mean it has to go down there. So can we bounce now off of what looks like that falling channel? And the importance of this is that's like the neckline here. The fact we're honoring this means that that inverse head and shoulders is still a possibility. And that's good news. That's very good news. Now, the unfortunate thing right now is we can't confirm nor deny anything because all we're doing right now is trying to come back up to where the 20-day would be a rejection point. Now, instead of using it as support, this is really starting to become a time where we're finally trying to use it as a resistance. We have to see if we can do that or if we can power out of here. And just because the XRP Bitcoin pairing is giving us some optimism here, I would like to think it's the positive route and we can get out of here. And this is just a little crutch in the sand. Joseph, thank you for the $2 donation. Says, shout out to my sister. We are going up from here. Yes, Joseph and Jennifer Kupiak are in here. Yes, they're brother and sister. It's amazing. I love it. Families coming together in here. If only my own family came in here as much as this family supports each other. Look at that. Look at that. Oh. But I appreciate that. Not only being in Tom's Army for both of you, but also the donation. I really appreciate that. You all are my family, the Cannabis Podcast. I appreciate that. I do appreciate that. So we'll look at this. We'll look at this pretty deep as well. And, you know, see what the best route here is. DGB is making me proud right now at 5.2% at least. And DGB on that descending wedge breakout, it never gave up the back test. Now, the things for concern, Death Cross doesn't necessarily seem to be fully done. And from what we've seen from earlier evidence, I've watched, let me take a breath. I've watched some of the exhaustion wicks on others in this rotation come down here and fill out the exhaustion before it wants to try to start reversing. And I don't want to say it's following something very closely. It might surprise some of you what it's following. Oh, sorry. I'm trying to remember which one because my mind is running in a million places at once, as you guys can imagine. Which one was I watching? I might not even be in the right sector. But it actually was following it pretty close. What was that? Ah! No, that's not it either. Where the hell was I at? Well, I'm going to have to do the intro and I'll try to think about it. I look at a million things at once. I needed, it was following something almost perfectly. What did I just see? Maybe it was no, I don't think it was Bitcoin. No, it definitely wasn't Bitcoin. I'll have to try to remember, but it followed something identically, and I was like, oh, you know, it kind of does look like that's what the market could possibly do. So we'll see. We'll see. Anyhow, let me do the intro, and I'd appreciate if you did hit that like button so we could get this passed around YouTube. I think it'll be important today, especially the ones in our community so that they don't miss it. I think we have a lot to talk about here today. I think we have to look at, we have to talk about a lot. So let me wipe my glasses though. Somehow I got something on it, but it's an interesting day. It is an interesting day with interesting opportunities, with interesting things that we must discuss. So with that being, trading with J-Ride, welcome. And the XRP versus Bitcoin pairing is just awesome right now. It's awesome right now. Let's see. So, good evening. 6:47 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on this Tuesday, February 25th, 2025. I'm XRP Future Millionaire, and I reside in the great state of Michigan. Looking for some outliers here. Let's see if we can get out of this range with some of these assets. See if we can get outside of this range. And this is just one big consolidation in Beartrap. Let's just see. Let's just see. Because we do have some things that are reversing for us right now. However, we do know, like we talked about yesterday, that we have to have this roll back up, even if it's bearish. But I'm hoping not. I'm hoping not. I'm looking and I'm wanting this to work itself back out in a way to where this was a massive retest. This was a massive error. We came back down to have a true support. And even for XRP, you know, all we got to do really, well, we did create a few areas of resistance, so let's not act like it's not going to be anything. But if we get over 240 first area, 250 second area, and ultimately 260, we can get right back on track. It's going to be interesting what happens in the market at 7 o'clock. I'll be honest. This is one of those times where I wish the clock wasn't flipping so quickly, because we're starting to gain momentum at the end of the clock here, and I wish it wasn't about to flip. Joseph says, in a good mood today, Tom. Love this community. Great mood, Joseph. And I love this community as well. We've branded ourselves in a way to where we've gotten pretty helpful in here now. The way it is now, I love it. It took a little while to get us to where we wanted to go and myself to get to how I wanted to be. But it's definitely something special. And thank you so much for that donation. Appreciate that. And then, like, we had drawn this out and kept it on this chart just in case, whether it broke down or broke out. So now we have to not back test this at that 240. Like, that's the best way to show it. We just don't want to back test that as a resistance. So if we can get out of this resistance tug, oh my God. If we can get past this after this consolidation, you guys have no idea. Oh, you have no idea. It's like, I don't know if I should be, I'm almost finding myself rooting for DGB to come down just a little bit farther. I wanted it to, I was rooting a little bit for it to come down to this. I was going to buy more right here. The farther it rides the backside of this, and I think DGB has a chance to come down there. That's why I'm not getting too excited, but I have 1.3 million tokens, so I would not be unexcited if it doesn't go. But I was going to make probably another interesting buy if we could come down to about, oh man, this would have been a perfect hit right here. That was my next targeted buy zone. I wanted it to exhaust this, fill it out the entire way, and then springboard out. And I was going to buy, I love DGB. Oh man, I can't describe it. I only wanted 100,000 when I started after I sold the last cycle in the bull market. But it's like I'm seeing all this stuff, and it's like I'm almost rooting against like some of these just to go down. Especially it was mainly DGB. I've already got everything else I really want. I'm one of those people who strategically takes profits at certain points because I overbuy things so that I can ride out the brunt of the storm. Like, it's just the way I found myself to be able to cope with bearish times in the market because you guys know the stories. So it makes it a lot easier for me to watch it as it does this up and down, left and right. And then there's been opportunities along the way as well that have been incredible. Mark, thank you so much for not only being in Tom's Army, but also the $2 donation as well. In Tom's Army for well over 6 months now with that XRP predictor. But also sending a $2 donation as well. And somebody asked how they get into the Telegram. I'm gonna pin it in this live right now. That's what I was doing on my phone, just trying to get the link. But one warning, and this is the only warning. There are no warnings. So good spirits, helpful, honest. You show humility. You have humbleness, and you don't. Let's just say you don't bring that negative energy and you don't degrade anybody. And I'll kick you out if you do. There's no warning. We went through this a couple years ago. You can go back. I left all the chat from when we were in the bear market, and you can see when I told my audience who was in the Telegram. You guys can go back. I know some of you haven't are shocked, but when I bought in the bear market, I had, the credibility of the 2021 bear market to bull market, and then the call at the top of the bull market at 166 was our sell point. And then we bought back in at 34. Well, to surprise some of you, the majority of my Telegram banned against me when I said now's the time to buy all of your favorite crypto. We went into a quantitative easing in early 23. And I said, holy shit. We went from tightening and they're talking about easing. It's time. And XRP just came back down to the uptrend at 34. And I'm like, this could not be by accident. And I bought it and I was buying a whole bunch of stuff. Some people were with me, but most were against it, saying, oh, what the. Anyhow, you can read back to that whole dynamic, but it wasn't that stopped it. It was just the energy in there, and you'll be able to tell very quickly. I didn't delete any of it. I want to be everybody just to see what the lifestyle is, the lifespan of that Telegram. For 2 years, I individually deleted people one by one. At one point, there was probably 500-600 people in there. And I deleted it down one by one to like 65 until I found 65 people that were actually coping, and they weren't always there because it wasn't running like it was, but we had good people. Now I've been building it back up, and only for 2 weeks I opened it back up, and now there's already 200 and I don't even know how many people it said because it's getting out of hand. 235 already again, and I barely talk about it unless somebody tells me to put this in here on the live. You'll never see me really talk about it because it's the best kept secret, really, for me. It's so much fun too at night. Like when I'm sleeping, there's a lot of people from other sides of the world. I'll wake up and like there was a lot of messages from last night. Let's see. But so that's pinned there. So the only warning is there's no warnings if you're a bad actor. Like if you're mean and you're rude, and I don't put up with it. So you'll just be gone. And I don't care who you are. But I mean, this is going to be the tricky part here. This is going to be the tricky part. We've got to really see what happens in 6 minutes and see which direction they're going. This right now, I don't like to say it. But we don't want this to end up being like a trap for some who think they're getting like, oh, this is the steal right now. And then all of a sudden at 7 o'clock, it's the flip of the clock and we just continue what we started. Like that's not what we want to see. We want to see a little bit of momentum. We didn't quite come up to 240, but we did come up to 237. I think that's pretty damn close to 240. So it did come up here and at least retest in a sense. But I would have really liked to have seen it come all the way back up. I know that's 250, and then there's 240 above it. But I still would have liked to have seen it come back up a little bit higher to back test at least the drop points. Because if it's going to be bearish, it's going to have to prove it to us. If this is really going to want to work a right shoulder, it's really going to have to prove it to us, in my opinion. XLM, again, these haven't really done anything volume-wise. That's the only thing that makes me a little nervous here. Is volume predicts price, and we are not getting that big of a volume target. I dare say it feels like we need to come all the way down here and fill out these exhaustion wicks. Like this looks like it could be a bear flag that could bring us right down to support, and I dare say that might be the best buy zone right now. Feels like we need to come all the way down. Can't explain it. I can't explain it. I can't explain it. It feels like we need to fill these exhaustion wicks out. Almost feel like it's a trap to end the day to get some confidence up here. I hope I'm wrong, though, but trust me. I'd rather make money than watch consolidation. But, I mean, those exhaustion wicks, I mean, feels like it wants to come down there. I mean, I know it seems like a lot more of a drop. That's 20% from here. So what would that mean for DGB? What would that percentage be? If it did come down and exhaust that wick out. Who knows? Maybe we'll pull a miracle here and we'll get some volume. That's what I'm rooting for personally. Ooh. Bye. Yeah, that 6-1 is like the same distance I'm seeing XLM possibly falling. Let's see if DGB front runs this and just pulls it up. Because we could argue that maybe it'll pull up here. That's what I'm saying. Now it's 3 minutes, but at the end of this clock, this is going to be very important here on the flip. The next candle is going to be very important. Now, another thing that makes me a little anxious is the fact that this is a short month, folks. There's only 28 days in this month. And we know by routine that typically XRP's price, some say it's not correlated, but, but it typically will drop on the escrow dump. It might have an artificial rise and then it just drops. So call it what you will, coincidence or just dumb luck. But that's usually what happens. And that's only, the end of the month here is only 28 days. So Wednesday's the 26th, Thursday's the 27th, Friday's the 28th. And by God, with just our luck, that the escrow dump is going to be on a Saturday when we've dumped 10 straight weekends now. So that's, I don't know if this is lining up for the perfect storm for a perfect drop. And I'm not talking about just XRP, I'm talking about crypto. Or if we're getting ready for a massive reversal this weekend when everybody would think for an 11 straight weekend it's going down. And then all of a sudden, they pulled a miracle. Kind of like how what happened in the bond market. How everybody bought it up today. So that's the Josie. It's impossible to say, but with everything that's happening right now, there's a strong case to be made that Bitcoin's going to go down probably to 74K if this ends up falling through, and it did. And the fact that Bitcoin only had enough resurgence so far, and hopefully it comes all the way through, but right now it's only come back up to the bottom of this pattern that it tried to come outside of on that resistance. You know, so that's a downtrending resistance that it should have held as support. Now it fell back through to use it as a resistance at the end of the day. So I don't know, but if I was a betting man, I would say something's not adding up here. We're not getting a volume pullback. Like there's no volume on the bounce back. And I did show in the Telegram, but I couldn't do it until I came live again. Oh, that's so funny. While I'm on here, UB2B shared some stuff here. And I know I shared most of it. Where's this at? UB2B. UB2B. But he shared some more stuff about... So I love UB2B. He's our meme genius, I call him. So here's a... Where's the newest one? Warning, bear traps. Set in this area for damage control. Join Tom's army. And then he said, join Tom's army and become a chart master. And I love these so much. I just can't even describe it. Warning, bear traps. Set in this area for damage control. I'll play some of the music in a little bit, but we have so much to talk about still. Or maybe the next time I come on, it's just so funny. But with this, we did see this earlier. Where the hell did I share this? I know I shared it on here. Oh, you know what? Forget this. I can just go to my which I barely use it at all, but this X account. This will be easier to find it. Much easier to find it. This right here. So BlackRock just deposited 18,168 Ethereum worth 44 million and 1,800 Bitcoin worth 160 million into Coinbase. And that was within the last hour. And I had shared it within an hour and a half roughly of when this was shared. And now that was about 4 hours, 5 hours. So that's about 7 to 8 hours ago that was known. So the question is, what is going on with BlackRock? And is that to be believed by Cointelegraph? If so, you know, I think it speaks the case. If XOB came to 165, where would XLM go? God, I have such a hard time. I don't want this. I feel bad for what could come here if it comes. So I really want it to just go up. I just want it to go up. See, and sometimes I speak selfishly because I want it to go down to certain areas. But in the grand scheme, it would cause a lot of devastation, I think, for some people. And I just don't want it to go down. But if it does go down, let's just say XRP comes down and fills that godforsaken area that's been pissing me off for a while. That's about 34 to 35, anywhere between 32 and 36%, right? And there's a gap there that is undeniable. It's just, you know, so it's been really bothering me. And if XRP came down that far, I would argue it's probably going to come fill its same area. Let me put this in a higher time frame because it's a little bit harder to distinguish with XLM, but I know it did the same thing. Although it came all the way, see, up, back, up, never came back. So, okay, that's where it was. Yeah, see, son of a bitch. Same thing. Same thing. This came all the way up and never came back here. So, when it came up, see, this is what's bothering me. And this isn't going through the FVGs and going through, you know, a lot deeper look. But when it came up here and did this, we never came back and did anything like this before we went up. So what I'm saying is like you've got this area down here that it needs to be touched at some point. Better now than later. So in theory, we could say like 14.3 cents if XRP came down 34%. I mean, fuck me. I mean, I really don't see it. Never came down there. So in worst case scenario, if this is still bullish and it needs to fill some of these, I mean, you're talking about a pretty substantial move there down to like 40. Holy hell. I mean, almost like that 14, 15 cent area. And that's the thing, like I've talked about how we took the elevator up. You take the stairs down. And we've been doing it every step since December when I said what I said. And the cool thing is when I was reading through some stuff with, well, I get a lot of rude comments. But there are always those comments every so often, you know, that actually touch base on something from the past. And it's nice when you see that. I think it's nice. But But do you guys see the problem with meme coins now? I'm just being honest. Do you see the problem with meme coins? And do you see the problems with perpetrating it with power and how it can change a market overnight? Because that's when this all started. Not just from the memes, but it started, the first thing that caught my concern was all of a sudden on TikTok, and I know some of you were here on TikTok and everywhere else, where nobody wanted to acknowledge what was going on. No, it's not just Trump. Don't even think that. That's just, it's easy to blame just Trump, but let's face it, there was only so much of that market cap that was from him. But the thing that started it for me was everybody started to say, like, literally, I would go into my 7-Eleven and I tried to tell these people about XRP and Bitcoin and all this other crap in this gas station over here that has a Bitcoin machine. But you can't withdraw money. It's only to load your fiat on to buy Bitcoin. Like, no, give me a machine where I can just withdraw it anonymously, and I would have done that. But it's one where you can load it on, and they're acting like I'm some kind of idiot when I'm talking about XRP. And I'm telling them, like, hey, you know, we're in a good spot right now, and this is the time we should be. Oh, this stuff shit. Crypto sucks. Now I go into the gas station when it's already like 8-9x, and Bitcoin's at almost 100K, and they're like, have you bought that Bitcoin? Have you bought any of it? And they're like, we just bought it. I recommend you. I'm like, you're going to sit here with a straight face when I come in here every single week for the last friggin' 2 years, and I'm telling you about this, and now you're going to act like you're going to give me some advice? I'm like, the funny thing is now I'm about to sell it because you guys are telling me to buy it. And they just looked at me like I was some kind of asshole. And I'm like, listen, there's a reason why everybody is telling me to buy this now. And traditionally, like the old wise tale once said, when my shoe shiner is giving me stock advice, it's time for me to get out of the market. That's when I made that bold update and said I sold X amount, secured this much of a profit, and my audience basically lost the shit. Some in a good way, some in a bad way, but only because, not because I was taking profit, but because they know what that, and that they knew exactly what that meant when I did that. Because of what I did in 21. Now, I didn't fully liquidate because I approached it different this year. I bought almost twice as much as I needed of everything I wanted so that I could sell exactly what I initially intended on buying when I thought the market was over. And I secured a hefty profit and still have the tokens I still want. In some cases, a lot more than I had. You know, so it sounds crazy, but that's just something that I do. It's like a built-in safety net. You know, like if you ever take out insurance on something just in case something goes wrong. Well, that's me taking insurance out on myself in case I didn't listen to myself. Well, I bought 50% more than I wanted, so surely there's no reason to even hesitate with that side of town. You know, so, but that didn't mean that I don't see opportunity or I thought the market was just going to die. It just meant like we need to pay some friggin' attention here because something ain't right. And with these meme tokens and all this other stuff, you know, and now we're at where we're at. Now we need some kind of miracle of volatility to the upside. I'm going to tell you, we need some kind of volume to come in here. Like, we need some volume to come in. And I'm still looking at Stellar and look at that. That's still a big flag, still a big bull flag. If we could get some volume, we don't need to do this back test. We can roll here. But we need to make this not a bear flag. We need to make sure that we come out of here. And if we power out of here, this could be spectacular. That's the other side of this. Like, maybe we don't need to come all the way down to those gaps yet. And I notice I say yeah, because eventually we're probably going to come back down there. So, you know, not sure what to make of it right now, but I could definitely see both sides of town. I could see both sides of town here. I can certainly see both sides of town. So what do you guys think real quick? I want to know what you think. I've done a lot of talking. 31 minutes. There is no way it's been 31. Okay, I've done a real lot of talking for 31 minutes. I just want to know what everybody thinks. Like, do we feel good? Do we feel bad? Do we feel indifferent? I don't even know if I can see comments right now, to be honest with you. It's another reason why I asked. Because I feel like we're not seeing, or I'm not seeing the comments like I should be. Maybe I am. Maybe there's just not a lot of comments. Hopefully that's the case. History is repeating itself. We back to 2017. Okay, no, so I couldn't see the comments. I was gonna say, so they blocked it. Quant was a real good buy last night. Yeah, and some people were talking about that in the Telegram last night. Few people were. Excellent job. No, I'm not. I said not everybody. I said some. I corrected myself. You're right, George. Not everybody did. Yep, Define said, high school kids telling me XRP is the next Bitcoin. I almost sold it. Oh, yeah, the Hawk Chua girl, too. Some are saying don't forget. I knew I wasn't seeing comments. UB2B Sob says, am I going to have to revive the Bob memes? You just might have to. You just might have to. XRP can absolutely go a different way than Bitcoin. It's showing itself redirecting a little bit as far as bottoming versus Bitcoin, but that doesn't mean that XRP's price in itself won't go down. This is where playing the XRP Bitcoin pairing would be in your benefit. And I may just have to do that. I may just have to go back to that play. I did that in the summertime, if you guys remember, and oh man, did it set us up so nicely. This is pretty nice to watch this too. I mean, you can see how it's flowing. But price, I mean, it's still struggling in this range. Have a nice little, what looks like reversal there. A lot of money. If you look, it's trying to flow into a little bit here into America. I'm trying to see any big wallets that are buying in, but it's, you know, I mean, you see some substance, but there's not, I'm not seeing like a crazy buy amount. I almost feel like if this doesn't get up here, that's almost like a head forming there again, which is going to suck. So let's just get up. That's what I'm saying. Let's just get up. We just need to get, oh God, we just need to get up. We need to start going. Like, it's a lot funner, I always say, when it's going up than down, but you know, there's a lot of people in my audience that like it better when it's going down because at least we're watching it and we're watching for opportunities. So, you know, I respect both sides of town. But this is not for the faint of heart. Eric Trump tells followers to buy the dip amid Bitcoin drop. Ooh, this kind of sounds like when he told everybody to buy Ethereum before we ended up being exit liquidity if you did buy. Eric Trump encouraged followers to purchase cryptocurrency during the market downturn. Social media users pushed back against the advice, attributing Bitcoin's decline to the administration's trade policies. Market sentiment indicators have shifted to extreme caution as Bitcoin retreats from recent highs. And yeah, we better be careful because if Bitcoin got rejected here and couldn't get past 90K right now, it's probably signaling that drop to 74 we talked about 2 months ago, and that would not be pretty. The current administration has positioned itself at pro-cryptocurrency while establishing regulatory framework. Hey, I talked about Trump, how he was against crypto his first term. You got to buy the vote somehow. Uncertainty persists in the digital asset community regarding whether Trump's policies will ultimately benefit the sector. Eric Trump, son of the U.S. President Donald Trump, urged his followers on X to buy the dip as Bitcoin fell below 90,000 on Tuesday. The decline raised investors' concerns amid ongoing U.S. trade policies. On February 25th, he posted "Buy the dips" on X, accompanied by a Bitcoin symbol. Many users pushed back, linking Bitcoin's drop to broader economic concerns, including tariffs. This is not a dip. This is a bloodshed crash caused by the tariff and trade war. How when we have to pay the bills? Didn't you say that this 30% ago? Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index signals extreme caution. The Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index, which measures market sentiment, fell to 25. Did it really fall to 25, or is that kind of overhyping it? Holy hell. Now we're talking. Now we're talking. Okay. If we get one more dive to like 13 or 14, oh my God. Now we're starting to flip the momentum. Now we're starting to flip it back in our direction. That's good. President Trump reaffirming plans for tariffs. So yeah, we kind of got to get past that point that's coming up here. But that's good enough. I'm not reading all that bullshit. Couldn't care less. Sounds good. Everything went good? Okay. 29,532,534 XRP hit Coinbase. That's nothing major. I don't really see anything of substance here. We know about the big liquidations, 1.34 billion in crypto liquidations in a 24-hour period, mainly with Ethereum, XRP, and Bitcoin. XRP are leading the sell-off. All altcoins in the top 100 experienced massive price drawdowns, which we could imagine. Just want to see the number as of earlier this morning. Bitcoin led the sell-off, scoring a liquidation valued at 526.31 million in 24 hours. Long traders suffered 502 million of those losses, 23.8 million in shorts. And then Ethereum saw 292.42 million, and long traders lost 270 million, short traders lost 22 million. And then XRP had 56.7 million in liquidations, 52.38 were long, 4.39 were short. A lot of people are getting. And the worst part about that is even if you're down because you bought at the wrong spot in spot, at least you still have it. Imagine buying your spot position, it going down 7% and you losing that whole position. That's what people in leverage, when it says liquidated, that's what it means. They literally got greedy. They wanted to make money quicker. They wanted more than they could afford. That's how I look at it. Leverage traders are just like somebody who's buying a house and have to pay PMI. I've been there. I've been there in my past. You're buying insurance so that the person lending you the money has insurance to the fact in case you don't pay it off because you have a higher chance of foreclosure because you couldn't come up with the 20% down payment, that they now have insurance against the insurance in case you don't pay your house. Well, it's kind of the same principles. So, in a circle, we spiral here. We kind of spiral in a circle here. So, leverage traders, they feast off of the fact that, hey, I might only have $400, but I want to own 10,000 XLM. Let's say I have $300, but I want to own 10,000 XLM. Well, in order to make that happen, I'm going to have to magically come up with $3,000 out of that 300. Oh, what a great concept. I'll 10x this trade. Well, instead of just having the $300 worth of XLM and losing 15, 20%, now because it went down, what it did now in this drop, you just lost your whole $300. And now instead of just being happy with $300 worth of XLM, so what? You only got 1,000 XLM instead of 10,000. At least they're yours. At least they're yours. At least it's yours. And now, because of greed, you don't even have the 1,000. Now you got to start over. Now, the next time you get the 300, you're going to say, well, the hell with this. I'm not just going to buy 1,000. I would add 2,000 now without my mistake. And then it just compounds. And that's a losing strategy because over time, even I would lose that leverage. I'm telling you right now, even I would lose that leverage over time, and I have. Especially in long stretches. Short term, I can rip it without the market crazy volatility. But if you stick to it too long, you always have to flip from a bullish cycle to a bearish cycle to a bull. Even in the short term, it happens. And some days you have that volatility of 15% up and down. Well, it don't matter what you're doing. You really can't survive that if you're going at a leverage of even 5 or 10x or more. In this case, in one day, you lost out even on a 2x with one of the days with the way it actually played out. So the bottom line is, I can be man enough and stand here in front of you, even with all the knowledge I have, and tell you, if I do it long term, it's a losing proposition, which is why I don't practice leverage trading. Rare situations I do, but for the majority, I'll just put the money in a spot trade on BITUNIX so that I can do a spot trade. And I don't have to, it's not a KYC there, so I can do it like kind of in secrecy. You know, so I have the affordability to do it, but that's my point. Leverage trading is for poor people, for the ones who can't afford to buy what they need. And maybe not even the poorest of people, but some people push it, and I know for a fact because they think they can make money off of you. Well, if you're pushing leverage trading and you're rich, and you show, hey, I got a $10,000 account, and you lose $10,000, but you're a millionaire, you don't even fucking care. But at the same time, you're going to get people to buy your courses because it's easier to sell if you say, hey, I'll give you signals for leverage trading, because it's a faster paced game. But then what ends up happening? It's a rinse repeat cycle. I've got 31,300 people almost. So I could just rinse and repeat that principle. And then some of you would leave. Then the next group of unsuspecting folk would come and I'd make a whole bunch more money. Then they would leave. And then the next unsuspecting group of folk. And it's the same thing, rinse and repeat. So you got to teach yourself a basic fundamental understanding. It's the same reason why some say don't use a credit card like Dave Ramsey. Because you're going to buy more than you normally would have if you only had cash in your hand. Or your debit card. Because that's linked to your bank account. Your credit card is linked to a credit line, and we're all guilty of it. You're like, it's so what, $75, right? But if you're thinking about it, $75, handing them cash in your hand, you're like, oh, you know, that's kind of a lot for that piece of shit item. But because out of sight, so it's you're building the same basic principles. Now, back to the leverage trading. I think it's the biggest game in town because they know they can get rid of the most money. It's all a big game. Like all these up-down options, all this nonsense with exchanges having all this crap, guys. They're pointing more towards the leverage side of town. So once you have more leverage, now you got to fill those options. So now you've got this up and down, left and right. And for anybody who doesn't know, just take a look at gold and silver bullion because of these damn options. Go take a look at the stock market because of the futures contracts. That's what crypto's turning into, and it's not a pretty game. It wasn't always like this. Crypto used to be more of a spot game, and that's what made it fun. With all this leverage and up-down options and all this other crap, it's making it more like the Wild West in a bad way. It's making it much too easy to bring downside liquidity. It's a lot easier to make people hold on to their losses than to get them to sell their gains. And I guarantee this audience can unequivocally agree with that. Is it easier to keep your gains or sell your losses? I 100% guarantee if you're down, you'll much easier get rid of a portfolio than if you're up, getting rid of it as it's coming back down to even. Guarantee it. I've been there. For some reason, the human conditioning says it's harder to sell a green portfolio coming down than it is to sell a red portfolio that just costs you 30% because you're impatient to wait for it to come back or build in. But for us, it's like, oh, I'll keep 70% is better than zero. But instead, we won't take 250% because it's not better than 375 or 800. You know, we've got a weird philosophy we live by, but that's the human condition. I know a few guys who maxed out their credit cards, loaded up, and let it go to collections and paid a credit repair company to remove them. It's not exactly that simple, but you still got to pay. You're still paying something. Maybe they got them to cut it in half or something, but you're not getting off for zero. If somebody said they got off for zero, I wouldn't believe them. But hey, you know, some people are better than I. Um, but I don't know. I don't know. But I probably wouldn't make that common knowledge because you know, there's time constraints and such. Not a game I would play either. Not a game I would play. Ooh, Jennifer works in mortgages. How cool is that? Mortgage collections. Ooh, even worse. Good thing my house is paid off, so I don't have to deal with you. But that's that's a tough job too. That's not easy. That is not easy. But yeah, XLM, if it can't get the steam here, and it does come down, I mean, worst case scenario, first would be this what almost looks like a bear flag could be forming here. I mean, it's early stages. So let's just say we're gonna get a bounce instead, but let's say we don't. Then first layer would be probably down to 23.7 and fill out this exhaustion. And then if it fell through, probably come down to that gap that we never filled. Homesteader by night, banker by day. I prefer my night job. Ooh. What an interesting day you live. A banker and a homesteader. And guys and gals can see how much see something that's interesting here as well. See how much volume we had on the push up. Notice how even when we pushed up here and came back up for validation, there was no volume. That's kind of like a dead spot. Almost as if we need some follow through. Can you guys see how low that volume is? And that's just on this run. Like a lot of people are trying to compare this to the old rallies, and it's true. But the old rally, what's the common theme? Once it went up the first time, it never came back. Once it went up the first time, never came back. Once it went up the first time, never came back. You see a common theme here? Except this time, where's the volume? I could argue in this rally compared to 21, there is no volume. Like it's almost as if they turned the selling robots off for a minute to let this happen for a few weeks. But honestly, there is no volume in comparison. Do you guys see what I'm saying? Like, it's so weird. There's no volume. Like, in comparison, there's no volume. We had a blip. It's like a blip on the radar. And that's not just XLM. I'm not going to make fun of XLM, but, you know, when you go back into, like, XRP, it's a little bit different. Well, I guess it's not that different. Look at the difference now compared to 21. It's a big difference. I mean, shit. What the hell even propelled us if you start looking at it? Like, honestly, if you look at it in a real sense, it's like when you start looking, you're like, what actually propelled us? I'm almost under the impression that all they did was turned off the sell bots. And they can do it. You guys know that. It's the trading bots. But they turn off the sell side of it. And Ripple and XRP and other companies got in trouble for it before. But where the hell's the volume? Like, even to get up here, it's some kind of miracle. Look at that. It's almost crazy when you look at it. Even Bitcoin, there's less volume now to get to 100,000 than there was to get it out of its initial infant stages. Let that sink in. Let that sink in. All this shit's overvalued is what's ended up going to happen if this plays out like this. And that's what we're going to say, all this shit. And I don't want to be down that way. But there is unequivocally... You have to ask ourselves, like, where is the volume at? Like, what happened? It went almost like it's on vacation. I mean, Doge at least looks somewhat symbolic. Algo, I mean, look at that. All-time high volumes coming in. That's what you want to see. That's what you want to see. IOTA forgot to turn on the buyers. You know, some of them just forgot to turn on the buyers. Ethereum. Pretty steady the whole time, but nothing major. H-bar. Put on the buyers here, you know? That had some rationale. And some of them have. But for the majority, it's like, oh, DGB, we can't look at it because there's so little buyers, it won't even pop up. Zill, couldn't really find any mustard. But I think you understand what I mean by a few of them. Like, we just haven't been able to find that grant. Like, the one that bothers me is XRP. Because this reeks. This reeks. Oh boy, we need some volume. Absolutely, Shane. XRP, XLM, XDC, HBAR, DGBs are true utility tokens. Yep. That's a big chunk of them. Now, VeChain, you might want to get your head sunk into as well, if you like the ISO in that phase. But I mean, you know, there's a few of them that you can get into that too. And I wouldn't sleep on Algo when you talk like the utility side of town, because Algo is very much on that discussion. But I love all the tokens you mentioned. I own them personally. But it's been 52 minutes. We'll be coming down towards the end of this. My son's got school in the morning, and you know, we'll be winding down here. But I really wanted to just get through, you know, and just look at this in a whole scale. Like IOTX. If this breaks down, this is another one that's on my deeper buy zones. If this comes down, I only have like 100,000 of these. I would much rather have, maybe this could be one that I could build over 1 million in time. This is a project of mine if it comes down to increase it by 10 times what I have right now. So between DGB and IOTX, MXC, man, it's so cheap already. But if it continues to come down, I would make a deeper play if it comes down here to 10018. So, but I can see like maybe these are forming these big ass bear flags. Like, there's no reason we should have fell out of these so easy. So, I mean, we'll just see. We'll just see. It's all we can do. It's all we can do. But if anything, I've shown you the problems here and the good. But I've over the last 2 months, some of you are probably madder than others, because a lot of times the bearishness creeps in, but it's just the way it goes. So I'm going to go. My son's out here. He wants dad's attention. I'm XRP Future Millionaire. Thank you all so much. Thank you all so much for that. I appreciate all of you. I'll probably do a short in a few hours since I haven't done one yet today. But other than that, I'm going to go hang out with